I don't believe the courthouse clock is working, so we'll go ahead and call this July meeting of the Blount County Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Roger, if you call the roll, please.
Larry Chesney. Here. Bruce Demrow. Here. Stan Hedrick. Here. Brian King. Here. Rob Walker.
Here. If there's no discussion or a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye. We have one variance tonight and two special exceptions. The first variance is front setback requirements on Ridge Road.
Just make sure you use your microphones, guys. That's the best we can do. The acoustics in this room are not the best, so.
If you all like, you can come up closer to the front, if that might help.
This variance request is from the front setback requirements at 1122 Ridge Road. The property is identified on tax map 80, parcel 132, and is zone S suburbanizing. The required setback is 30 feet from the front property line running along Ridge Road. The variance being requested for the is being requested for a detached carport. The requested setback is for 6 or 7 feet by my best calculations, and that's using GIS and actually making a site visit and using the right-of-way to pull measurements. This is a corner lot that, strike that sentence right there, it's not a corner lot. This structure was installed without a permit, and the applicant did not know one was required. The applicant wanted this structure for his aging mother in order for her to be able to be out of the weather during getting her into and out of the car. The driveway drops off a few feet at the end, and there is a light pole at the end of the driveway as well that prevents them from pushing the structure back without removing the light pole or adding quite a bit of backfill. So that's not an option, but I just spoke with the representative of the applicant, and they will consider maybe not pushing the whole structure back, but maybe it has sections, maybe taking a section off and shortening the structure down to where it's not so close to the road. And I think that would probably give I think it's probably at least an 8-foot section. So they're interested in that, or that's a possibility for them.
Is there anyone here in favor of this variance who would like to speak?
Yes. Good morning, gentlemen. Afternoon. Ms. Lawson's 90 years old.
Could you tell us your name, please, sir?
My name is Troy Jones. I'm an attorney from Knoxville, Blount County Board Association. Ms. Lawson, she's 90 years old. She has a bad heart and can't hardly see. The shed is from her mobile home, and is trying to keep her out of the weather. The shed was put up. She bought the shed at one of the local places down here, and she didn't know that she had to have a permit, and they didn't volunteer that either, probably because they had no one to make that sale. But that's fine also. But on the variance from the road, the shed is like this, and there's sections of it. And I've talked to Mr. Field, and we think, and we want to do this anyway, if we get approved, to take the first section out, and that gives us 12 foot from the road at least. And we'll take that first section out, and we'll shorten the shed up, and that'll still keep her in the dry. And it'll give us a chance not to block the road, and we're behind all the fence lines and the tree lines from the other people. It sets us back at least from the fence lines and stuff. You know, Miss Lawson's been there for 17 years in that one trailer, and they've always put the trailer before that. There's another trailer before that in the same spot. They couldn't pretty much set the trailer back anymore because of the big drop off. As Mr. Field said, we couldn't fill it in or anything. It'd probably be way too much money. And Miss Lawson's on a fixed income, you know. That's pretty much where we at on this. Any questions?
Well, you're looking at changing your variance request from a 7-foot to a 12-foot?
Yes, sir. We want to take that section out, because me and Miss Lawson and her son, and we went there and looked at it, and I told them, you know, just looking at it, at least 12 foot from the curb, and then more from the center line, because that'll give a more view line, and it puts us behind all the fence lines and the tree lines from the street. And I don't think that'll be more safe for the community, and, you know, it still keeps her in the dry.
Okay.
Any other questions, sir?
We might have some questions in a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone here in opposition to this variance who would like to speak? Hearing none, we'll open up the floor to discussion from the board.
I have a question. If you look at the mobile home and the three-car carport is on the right, what is the dimension from the front of the carport to the edge of the road?
From the front of the carport to the edge of the road,
Right.
he may have that answer.
The trailer's right here,
All right.
and the carport is just like this. She goes into a ramp into the carport. The carport has been there and hooks up to the street, and her mailbox is here. And right now, it's sitting right here. And what we want to do is we want to move it back at least 6 inches back to here, and that'll give us away from the street line more.
But I thought the cars parked perpendicular to the road.
No, sir. No, sir. This is the road, and the cars are parked just like this, and her trailer is right here. She comes out of her door, and she goes down the ramp into under the shed.
But don't you have to back the cars
Yes, sir.
out toward the road?
Well, it's pretty flat right there.
I understand
You
that.
gotta back out into the road, yes, sir.
That's my point. It didn't look to me like there's 3 cars in the carport. It doesn't look to me like you can either enter or exit that carport without at some point stopping on the road.
I see your point. I don't know the exact length. The right of way right there is 11.5 feet from the center line of the road, and from that point it's 6 or 7 feet to the edge of the structure from the property line of road right of way. The road right of way, I don't know how much from the right of way to the curb, but it's pretty much the ditch line is about the end of the right of way there, if you can visualize that. So
I didn't
probably
thought-
2 feet, 2 more feet, so probably 9 feet, I would say.
The reason I didn't measure it, but it looked to me like that if you pull in and then you back out to leave, you have to back out into the road. Or if you back in, you have to pull on the road, stop, and back in.
Yeah, I think you'd have to do that regardless of the shed being there. I mean, you're going to have to back in or back out of the driveway.
So this was a previous concrete pad that's just been covered, or is it?
Yes, it was the concrete area was there. They just put the cover part on it.
So this stopping in the road had been going on for some time.
I would say it's been going on since the trailer's been there.
Excuse me, sir. Yes, sir. The pad has always been there. You know, they just put the cover up because she has a motorized vehicle, and they didn't want her to get drenched and stuff, and she got inside of she has a motorized van, and, you know, it takes a long time for her to get the van up and get him loaded up and get her inside there. But the pad has always been there. Okay. That procedure has always gone that way.
Is this structure just one of those metal arched buildings, a garage?
Yes, sir. It's just, it has legs on it. It's not a complete shed. It just has sticks on it, and then it has just like I guess just the top part of it. You can see straight through it.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? Entertain a motion.
I move we approve. Make a motion we approve the variance.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that you, Brian? Yeah. Is that to approve it the way it sits now, or with the
Well,
section being removed?
That would be approving it with the 12, because, yeah,
With that section being
taking
removed?
that section.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, we'll have to go back. Should we just report back to the board?
Excuse me?
Should we report back to the board or Mr. Fields?
We got to take a vote first.
Oh, okay.
Can you clarify the dimension that it's in the motion?
I've got the motion to approve a variance with the first section of that shed being removed.
So instead of 30 feet, the motion is to approve a what dimension setback?
I don't know exactly how much that section is, but I would say in the range of 12 to 15 feet. Okay.
Ready for the vote?
Bruce Damrow,
Yes.
Larry Chesney,
Yes.
Stan Hedrick,
Yes.
Brian King,
Yes.
Rob Walker.
Yes.
Motion to approve. Passed.
By adding the 12th, we're taking the section out. Right, that's it.
Next item on the agenda tonight is a special exception for a cell tower on 429 County Farm Road.
This is for a cell tower to be located at 429 County Farm Road. Property is identified on tax map 67, parcel 34, and is zoned S. Suburbanizing. Falk and Foster have submitted a complete application for 55 feet cellular tower on behalf of Verizon Wireless. The tower's location on this property will meet all building setback and separation requirements. The tower has been designed to accommodate up to 3 antennas, including Verizon's. The site plan did not include a landscape plan, and the site is in the middle of a pasture. This site would not be highly visible, but there is a house or two that may have direct view. It does appear that the overall visual impact will be minimal, and I included the section 7.4D below where we can waive the screening from the ground support structures if the view of it is minimal. Mr. Perry, I did include his engineering analysis of it and other information from the submittal.
I suppose you're in favor of this special exception.
I am. My name is Jim LePan, and I work for Falk and Foster, and I'm here in behalf of this cell tower. I can say that I have had a chance to talk with 2 groups of neighbors that are here this evening, and I wanted to address their concerns at this point in time, if that's acceptable.
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay. The first is Karen Tordette. Karen actually lives at the address that we placed in our notices for this tower, 429 County Farm Road. So that this tower is going to be behind that property. And that I assured Ms. Tordette is here that when we go to get our building permit, that we will need to go to the 911 addressing and get an address that is not her address, because it needs to be a separate, different address. She already has that one. She did indicate that there are several numbers that are available, and I appreciate that her providing me with those numbers. And I can assure you that we are not going to use the same address. We can't. And so I wanted to get that out of the way first. She also had 2 other concerns. She had a concern as to whether there are going to be cameras, security cameras on this site, and also whether there are going to be any flashing lights on this tower. And because the fact that this tower is less than 200 feet, the Federal Aviation Administration does not require lighting, and we're very happy not to put lighting on. If people don't like lighting, we don't like putting it on. So there are going to be no lighting, flashing or otherwise, and there are going to be no security cameras. I've never seen a Verizon cell tower site that had a security tower, I can tell you that. The other party that's here is Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell, Brent Caldwell and his wife. They live right on the same side of the road and adjacent to this parcel. They did have concerns about the view from their back door. And I indicated to them that I did notice that I did not prepare this application, and I apologize that there was not a landscaping plan in with it. But I let them know that that's common, that Verizon will do that if indeed this is going to cause some problem for a neighbor as far as the look of the base part of it. Can't do anything about the top part of it, but as far as the chain link fence and and 8-foot fence and the barbed wire and the buildings and all that stuff, we can put up landscaping around that. That maybe it won't be on the first day, it won't be tall enough, but the type of plans that would be approved by the county would have to be something that would extend in growth up to the size of that. And so I would just ask, if it's appropriate, that you grant the special exception subject to that one condition, that we submit a satisfactory landscape plan to the county prior to requesting the building permit. Those are the two issues I think that the community has issued. There was one other call that I did receive. I did send out notices to about 80 different property owners. I got 2 calls. One was from Ms. Tordat, and another was from an individual who was concerned about whether this would interfere with her radio, FM radio reception. And I did clarify to her that, that these are our specific wave bands approved by the Federal Communications Commission to not interfere with people's radio reception, and they would not. At any rate, those are the concerns I've heard, and I don't know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them.
We might have some questions here in a few minutes.
Pardon me?
We might have some more questions in a few
Oh,
minutes.
okay. Thank you very much.
We'll give somebody else an opportunity if they'd like to speak.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Is there anyone else in favor of this special exception? Or is there anyone in opposition?
I have one more question.
Could you come to the front, please?
Thank you very much. I'm Betty Drennan. I live across the road from where this area is. And my question is, will we have possible interference with our cell calls? You mentioned radio, but I didn't hear cell phone reception. And I am a Verizon customer and very pleased with my reception now. So I just don't know how we will be affected.
Can you answer that, Mr. Payne?
Oh, yes, I can answer that. The Verizon bandwidths that the FCC puts out an auction and as to who wants to buy certain bandwidths of radio broadcasting, because that's what a cell phone is. It's a radio. You're broadcasting to the tower and it's broadcasting to you. And Verizon has the licenses for this particular band. Other cell phone providers are going to use other bands. No one is going to be on that same band in this area as us. So if you're a Verizon user, you're going to have great reception. If you're not a Verizon user, it's not going to interfere with your cell, because we're on a totally different wavelength. Just won't, scientifically, it won't link up with your phone.
That answer your question, Ms. Drennan?
Yes.
All right.
I'm Karen Torbett, and I live at 429 County Farm Road. My one other question that I did not get to ask Mr. LePan, it appears there's going to be some major road construction to build a gravel road here, and I know sometimes when you mess with the lay of the land, it can cause other difficulties for the surrounding properties. That was my other concern.
All right.
Thank you.
Can you answer that, please, sir?
Certainly. I do know that as required in any construction plan that we submit, are required erosion control measures that are done on all of our construction sites. So I believe as one of our drawings, or some of our drawings that we have submitted, I don't have the numbers of them, would include the silt fences and the other items that are going to prevent any damage to anyone else's property from any water flowing while they're building the road. After they finish the road, it will not drain off onto anyone else's land. We're not allowed to do that, and we don't want to.
Thank you. We'll open up the floor for discussion from the board. If there is any.
question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm the aforementioned Brent Caldwell. One of the questions I had
Excuse me, sir. Could you tell us your name, please?
Brent Caldwell.
All right, thank you.
And one of the questions I have is this property owner has other property that this may have been better placed on, basically not in my backyard. There's property to the other side of us that I would think might be more appropriate. I don't know if that was taken into consideration at all, to move it from the property, which literally is right outside my back door, as I mentioned before, over to the side where he has basically used cars and, you know, it's like a junkyard over there, which would remove it from our side and almost everybody else's as well. Plus, it's a lower piece of property, so the buildings and fences and everything else wouldn't be visible from probably anybody else's property that I could think of, except maybe the property owner's property. So I guess my question is, did you consider, or the property owner consider, moving this to a different part of his property?
Yes, sir.
I can say that the way these projects work, I was talking to Ms. Tourdette, you know, it's a big project. From the idea of a cell tower to a cell tower being there is a huge project, and there are a lot of different aspects to it. One important aspect is called site acquisition. And the site acquisition person is told by Verizon, we need a cell tower in this square on a map. And they go around and talk to different property owners and find out, is this a good site? Do you have any land? Are you willing to rent it some to us? So it's got to be constructible is one thing. It's got to be zonable, which is what I'm hoping to get today. And it's also got to be leasable. Those are the three items that they look at on every one. As to whether that site acquisition looked at other sites in that search ring, or whether the area that you're talking about is in the search ring, that I don't know. I know that scientifically we get a message from the radio frequency engineers at Verizon that they need in this spot. They give us, they just draw lines on a map and say, go find it. And that's how we determine it. And I'm sorry to say I don't know whether those properties are in it or not. That's the best answer I got. But this is the site that they have entered into a lease. If approved, it's leasable, constructible, and hopefully zonable.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, I'm Betty Drennan. Pardon me. My husband and I live, like I said earlier, across the street, a road from this, at 416 County Farm Road. My husband had cancer last year, and he could not speak or swallow because of the radiation he was having. So when the representative from Verizon called him, he asked me to discuss it with the engineer, the agent, field agent, who wanted to come onto our property to see if our property was suitable and if we would be willing to work with them. And even though Wayne couldn't speak, by the way, he can speak now, so he's really, I mean, we're grateful he's better. But we were happy to let them go on the back of our property, which goes along the railroad track that comes off of, we have property over to Honeysuckle Road, and behind there, it's very secluded. And we felt like it would be a great place to put a cell tower if it was going to be in our area, because it's removed from everything. It's in nobody's way. It would be in nobody's view because it's back behind our place along the railroad track. And it also is close to Rubbermaid, so that may be why there was the decision not to approach us or deal with us further about it. But I did want to let you know, let everybody know that that did happen. And when the engineer didn't call us back, after a few months, I did call him, and he said another location had been selected. So that was my view. I wanted to make sure you all understood.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? We'll open up discussion from the board.
Meets all the setbacks, right?
Yes, sir.
Confirm those dimensions, Roger. What are the setback requirements?
It's 150 feet, 55 feet tower, so it'd have to be 165 feet from any abutting residentially used or zoned property.
And the actual, it requires 165, and the actual is?
Oh, it doesn't even come close. They got If you want to see that section in the site plan, they actually did a 165-foot ring around the base of the tower, and the best that I can tell, it's over. The 165-foot ring from the base of the tower is probably over 50 feet from any property line.
So it would be 165 plus 50 to the property.
Yeah, it's that C1 right there. If you got that in the packet.
So they meet it by over 50 feet.
Yeah, and that's just me guessing, looking at a scaled map.
It's not that they meet it by a foot or two. It's,
No, they're well over the setback requirement.
as you face the property, if you turn the other way, there's another cell phone tower. Whose cell phone tower is that?
Which one?
If you look at this property, this address, and you turn 180 degrees, there's a cell phone tower there. You don't know what it is?
I don't know whose that is. Do you know whose that is?
I don't.
I don't know.
Yeah, that could be the 911.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
They've got their list of their locations in the packet, and
Would it be acceptable if I added something?
yes, by all means.
Okay. On that C1, they have identified the distances to the individual's properties in around, if that's your concern. And the numbers I see here are 403, this is from the residence to the tower, 403, 511, 475, 458, 481. The rest are more than 400, some are 700. So it's pretty far, yeah. Yeah.
Is there any other discussion? Entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Who made
Second.
that? Larry did?
Second.
Bruce? Bruce Damrow?
Yes.
Larry Chesney?
Yes.
Stan Hedrick?
Yes.
Brian King?
Yes.
Rob Walker?
Yes.
Motion to approve passed.
The second special exception tonight is a culinary arts farm to table kitchen on Keener Road.
This property is at 845 Keener Road. The proposed use is a culinary arts farm-to-table catering kitchen. The property is identified on tax map 22, parcel 12.08, and is zoned R1. The requested use is one that may be approved as a family commercial enterprise through a special exception process. The applicant is in the process of building a new barn and wants to install a commercial kitchen in order to operate the proposed use. The kitchen will only be about 204 square feet of the barn. And I included a floor plan there for you to look at, which will be over 2,000 square feet maximum for which will be under the 2,000 square feet maximum for the family commercial enterprise located on 2 acres or more. The proposed structure meets the minimum setbacks, and the commercial kitchen will be on the opposite side of the structure from the closest property line. The applicant owns 25 acres that surrounds this 2-acre parcel, so buffering it would not be required at this location.
Ma'am, since you're the only one left, I suppose you're probably in favor of this special exception.
I am not a lawyer, so bear with me. I'm the owner of the Mockingbird Farm, and basically I have
For the record, could you tell us your name, please?
I'm sorry, Jeannie Hickman, the owner of the Mockingbird Farm, and I'm a certified naturally grown farm. I do right now CSA baskets, And what I'd like to do is farm-to-table teaching, things like that. I found a lot of people are really wanting to learn more about farming, growing, and then how to produce it, turn it into meals and things like that. Basically, I've got some pictures of what we're doing here that I can give to you. The barn is under construction now. There's a picture of it. And then there's my state of Tennessee license showing I'm the owner. An overview of the property. And then an interior of the barn, okay? So the area right here would be the commercial kitchen. We've already had the septic put in, and it has all of the regulations with the grease traps and things like that. Our stepson, is basically helping us build this. And he did things in Knoxville like the Crown and Goose, Soccer Taco and Market Square, so he knows how to do the commercial kitchen type stuff. What I'd also like to do occasionally is hold classes there, teaching people, you know, maybe beekeepers, have them come out and talk to them. If there's a meal prepared, I want to be able to do it out of the kitchen where it's legal. We have a small orchard, 22 trees. I'd like to get some of the University of Tennessee folks to come out, show us how to prune them, and maybe do some classes on that. But it's real low impact. If you look at the piece of paper where the barn's located, it's really not going to affect anybody by having a few people come in and do some classes.
So you're not gonna have a restaurant, you're just gonna
No.
have a few classes there?
No, just classes and teach people farm to table.
Okay. We'll open up discussion for the board if we have any questions.
You live in the house in front of the barn?
My house is in front of the barn,
So
yes.
the structure that's being constructed behind the house is the structure you're talking about?
Correct.
What will the rest of the barn be used for?
Basically storage, and then the inner area, it's floor to ceiling. That would be, say, a meeting type room.
So there's not going to be cows and horses and
No,
pigs in there?
No, no, it's all concrete.
Will you occasionally, since it's a culinary kitchen, will you occasionally have meals available?
Yes. Yes, come on over.
I know where you're going.
I see where he's going.
You're invited.
That's why I sit by Stan. He sees through everything.
Well, a lot of
Stanley
people,
wants to know the date of the sampling.
the open house. Well, I've just found a lot of people now, I mean, they don't even understand how anything grows anymore. You know, we've talked about this many times, Mr. Fields and I, about, you know, you plant it, you grow it, and then people don't know what to do with it, so I want to teach them. And then, like I said, beekeepers, the fruit trees, just different things like that.
I'd like to mention one other thing. So the classes she mentions is actually covered under TCA in agricultural uses. So the only thing she's having to get approved by us is the commercial aspect of her kitchen, where she prepare meals that she could, you know, cater to other locations. But the classes and everything are covered under the agricultural definition by the state of Tennessee.
Jeannie, you said you ran some sort of farm. What was the name of the farm?
The Mockingbird Farm.
And what does the Mockingbird farm produce?
Vegetables.
Okay.
And eventually fruit.
Okay.
And I do have a domestic kitchen license, so right now I can do breads, jams, jellies, things like that. But a commercial kitchen, you're able to do more than just the jams and jellies and breads. Welcome.
Any other discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
I move we grant the special exception.
Who got the second? Larry. Okay. Bruce Damrow?
Yes.
Larry Chesney? Stan Hedrick? Brian King?
Yes.
Rob Walker?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Good luck.
I got you while you were hungry, didn't I?
We'll be waiting for the.
That's what it was. Okay.
So you sell veggies now
I do.
to neighbors?
It's called the Consumer Supported Agriculture, where people sign up ahead of time and you get 10 shares. It's $300, so basically $30 a basket. And this helps educate people on how things grow throughout the season. For instance, I had a lady in this last basket, she wanted lettuce and spinach. Well, that's not growing now. Now we're into the squash and tomatoes and things like that. So it's a real good way to educate people about farming and how things come in, and then some of the struggles. You know, I've got to prepare some baskets for Saturday, and I'm going to have about 12 inches of mud on my boots.
So you sell 10 baskets for $300, and who you sell them to, they get to pick what kind of vegetables to put in, learn how to cook them and prepare them. Is that right?
Well, they get whatever's in the basket at the time.
They come and say, here's your basket.
That's correct.
So
Yes.
it's sort of, here's what you get. And
And then they can learn that in the springtime, you're not going to have tomatoes. You're not going to have corn. You know, they, like early in the year, it was spinach, lettuce, herbs. I even threw some poke in there.
whenever they have a basket, whenever they have a basket and they come to your facilities to learn how to process it, how long does that take per basket to go through the training for that one particular basket? A couple of hours?
Typically, a good place for you all to look on the internet, it's called Local Harvest.
A local harvest.
If you go to Local Harvest, there's a lot of folks like me, certified naturally grown farmers, who provide baskets. And you just basically plug in the county. It's nationwide. And you have to get certified. Have to be certified naturally grown. And so no pesticides, nothing like that, fertilizers, things like that. But
This whole board's certifiable.
So the food you help them prepare is sort of the
what came
gourmet
from the
type
garden.
stuff, or is it just put it in some oil and fry it?
No. Well, I do a little of that too. It'll be different healthy varieties. Oh, the other thing I put in the baskets too are recipes.
Oh.
Because, people this time of year, the last 3 baskets, it's been a lot of zucchini and squash. And you got to give them some ideas, or they're going to think, oh my gosh, more zucchini.
But today, they come and take their basket home.
Correct. Yes, I'm not doing anything out of the barn yet. It's still under construction. You can see the barn, Ellajoy Road that takes you to the Y Road, okay? When you come through the wooded area from Ellajoy, it's like 3, it's Tuckaleechee, then Ellajoy, then it turns into Jeffrey's Hollow, and then it turns into the Y. Before you get to that 4-way stop, the only 4-way stop on Jeffrey's Hollow, if you'll look over to the right, it's the 27 acres, and there's a barn being built there.
So how often do they pick up their basket? Every week or month?
Every week,
So every week they come and pick up a basket?
yes. Yep, every week.
Do you raise all this?
I do.
You're out there digging around?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So
I love it.
you can't get 30 baskets of tomatoes then, right?
It's just a mixture.
Okay.
It's a mixture. Now, when my tomatoes really start coming on, it'll be more tomatoes than anything else.
Oh, you mean not the cardboard water things that we usually get at the store?
The what?
The cardboard water tomatoes we
No,
get?
these have flavor.
Good, I'll be out.
You have sweet corn too?
I don't. We were just discussing that. I'm planning on expanding next year where my garden's big, but corn takes up a lot of room. So I've kind of shied away from corn. But no, I have okra, tomatoes, green beans, all kinds of peppers, 50 tomato plants, just all kinds of stuff.
Is any of it in greenhouse?
No,
It's all outside?
it is.
Do you use herbicides and all that?
No, it's certified naturally grown, so no herbicides, no fertilizer. A neighbor raises rabbits, so I use rabbit manure. So,
Good luck.
thank you. You know, I'm not really, the Japanese beetles don't get to me. It's the Mexican bean beetles. They're terrible. And there's an oil that you can, it's called neem oil, and it's allowed. But sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's a lot of squishing. It is. It is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good night.